What's going on, guys? Just give you a little quick update here. As you see behind me, we have a little upgrade going on. We got rid of the Avalanche that was parked here. I traded that to for this truck here. Let me get this flipped around. We traded the Avalanche for this truck here. As you can see, we got some issues, but I got it figured out what it is. No biggie. But this is a 2014 Chevy Silverado 2-wheel drive. Regular cab, long bed. It'd be nice if it was a short bed, but she's a long bed. Decent tires on her. Just trying to clean her out a little bit. It was like a contractor's truck. The guy did construction work, just a single guy that had it. 4.3's been rebuilt, supposedly 60,000 miles on it. I was just running the hose through here, cleaning this stuff up, wiping the seats down a little bit. So I got some more to wipe out there. That's nasty. Gotta clean all that out in there. Guy was a smoker. I'm assuming was a drinker. Need a new rearview mirror. Point of doing this is we needed a vehicle for my daughter. Nobody was really coming with cash offers on the Avalanche, so we went and put it up for trade, as it said there in the ad. Guy got a hold of me, got this truck, and we did it on Saturday. Got a lot of miles on it. Like I said, the motor was done. We got to clean the bed out pretty good. Plan is to lower it a little bit in the back for her. I'm going to use it. She doesn't get her license for about another year yet, so I'm going to use it for now. Apparently the guy locked his keys in his car a lot, or in the truck a lot, because poking down through, basically breaking into the thing to get the locks to lock and unlock, which work. Just a base truck. Heat, AC, crank windows. That's about it. Dirty up there. Jesus. But it'll be good for her. Like I said, a little 4.3 V6. The guy had all these spots there, and there. He had these halogen lights. Not halogens, LEDs. Floodlight type things. And he's got this behind the grill. I'm going to get rid of that and take that off. I already took all those off there. Let me show you. This is what he had all across on the front bumper. And then he had this long one in at the rear bumper. So, not a bad little truck. I think is, come up a little bit on it. 2014 to a 2002 Avalanche. Granted, it's only a 6-cylinder, but what more do we need, for her to go around in and me beat back and forth to work? Need a fender. I don't know what he did there. And possibly a door. But that's what we got going on over here. Now the oil leak. Well, 4.3. So right there is the oil pressure sensor. And when you fire this thing up, within a minute, it's got a puddle underneath it, crazy, like just dripping, pressurized. And you look at where it runs down, and I crawl underneath it and look, and there's an oil cooler over there. Well, the guy must have thought it was coming from the oil cooler as well, because it's all slabbed up with Permatex and everything else. Well, you start chasing the oil all the way up, and you come behind the alternator here, right down in there. It's kind of tough to see. That's all oil down in there, and that's behind the water pump stuff and below the alternator. So you chase it and you try to find out where it was coming from. And I stood up here and underneath it while it was running, and it's hard to tell, but you could see. I don't think we're gonna see it, and be able to zoom in and see it here. But all along that line there was oil. All down along that line there was oil sitting in there, which would roll back to the back of the motor when you were driving. So it blew it all over the transmission, all over the hole underneath of the truck. Well, then when you chase it up and you try to find out where it's coming out from, that's the oil pressure sensor right there. So that whole thing there is pressurized. Follow it down right to that corner underneath there, and you can see a stream of oil just running out. So it's like a little $10 rubber gasket. So this is an LT type design. It's not the LS stuff. So this is a 4.3, which is just a 5.3, 2 less cylinders. And that gasket, instead of being like the LS where it's a metal with like a rubber inlay, that thing is like a rubber gasket like LS valve covers are. So whoever worked on it last, I'm assuming, pinched it, tore it, whatever, but it's leaking, so intake's got to come off and everything too. And this has that direct injection. All the direct injection has to come off of it. Direct injection has to come off of it to get to it. So I'll probably do that Saturday afternoon or so, and then get to changing the oil and all that stuff, and fixing up a few other things. I mean, this guy, he had extension cords ran to power lights and different switches and just all kinds of dumbness going on. The exhaust, driver's side, has the catalytic converter cut out and replaced with a flex pipe. Passenger side there's 2 cats on the passenger side, and they're both in there. Driver's side's missing the oxygen sensor. Passenger side has the oxygen sensors. So I need to find another Y pipe to go in there with that, to replace that. And then it's got a straight pipe welded on the back of the Y pipe into a Flowmaster muffler, and it dumps before the rear end. I'm just going to look for a stock exhaust to put on it, maybe at the junkyard or somebody on Marketplace that took their stock one off, or even if it's a V8 truck, I'll cut it down and weld some shit together to make it right. But it's a lot of crap, that's for sure. A lot of half-assedness. But what do you expect? On the front here, thinking painting it all white, the grill. You know, like all this here, leaving the emblem alone. The outer housings, white to go with the theme of the truck. And then painting this all white. Oh, I'm sorry, this all white, and just getting a new one of these to get rid of these holes that are in there. So that's where we're at with this little update. All right, guys, just want to show you this real quick on that Silverado. I'm actually at work now and needed to look up the valley pan plate gasket. Like I said, it's not like an LS. It's a rubber like the valve cover gaskets are on an LS. But get this, AutoZone, the only one, and I could get it on in my route. It's not, I'm about 50 miles away from home, but AutoZone carrying genuine GM parts. For some reason, even the dealership and stuff like that didn't have this in stock. I don't know why. I don't know, it's a common thing, I guess, that they're using them up, or I don't know what the problem is, but they didn't have it in stock, and I was able to find it through AutoZone. They had it sitting on their shelf, and it was the only one, and this one was like 50 miles away from me. So O'Reilly's didn't have it, the AutoZones by me didn't have it, Advanced Auto Parts didn't have it, Napa didn't have it, none of them. So AutoZone for the win, and surprisingly that it's a GM part. What's going on, guys, on this fine Saturday morning? We are getting ready to do some degreasing. See it on the trailer there. We got some LA's Awesome, so LA's oven cleaner, and we are going to get on the white truck that I had showed you before. Should be at FL2K, but had some other stuff going on later on in the afternoon, so couldn't really make a whole day out of it. As you hear in the background, I got the white truck running. Just wanted to show you guys what I was talking about the oil leak before I get into it. To me, it looks like it's leaking around the valley pan where the oil pressure sensor is. So we are going to be changing that rubber gasket. As I showed you, it is just like a rubber instead of the metal impregnated type seal on the LS's. This is a 4.3. It's the LT based 4.3. So let me see. I got it running to show you the leak. Let's get you over there so you can see it. See, down there is where it's all puddling up right above that water pump. A little bit of it right there. That's where it's flushed to the back of the motor. running down the side of the block over the oil cooler, which looks like, makes it think, you think that it's leaking from the oil cooler, but it's not. It's just running down that way. The old owner apparently thought it was leaking from the oil cooler too, because if you look at it, it's all slabbed up with gasket sealer and everything the hell else. So this is what we're gonna try to tackle, at least get it apart. So I'm not gonna video through the whole thing. I'll just start disassembling it and then explain as I go. All right, guys, here we are. First step. Got the intake off. I just flipped it up inside the truck. But you can see, you just take these bolts off. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side, 4 on the other side. This truck's been apart before. It has 5/16 here, 5/16 here, and then these other ones were 10 millimeters. You unplug the throttle body. You unplug the, there's 2 sensors on the throttle body you unplug right here, throttle position. Forget what the other one is. I unplugged the cam sensor is there, oil pressure sending unit is there, and this thing, it just lifted right up and off. It was 5 minutes and it was off. It uses, just like the LS does, uses the rubber O-rings to go around the intake ports. There's one left on there. The other ones were kind of stuck there. Like I said, somebody had this apart because there's gray RTV that you can see that are stuck to them, which made those particular ones stuck down there. I don't know, for a direct injection motor, ports ain't looking too bad. That one's kind of dirty. That one's pretty clean. That one's a little dirty, and that one's a little dirty. These over here aren't too bad, but the next step, so this being LT style means it's a direct injection. So these are the injectors over here that go directly into the head instead of the intake like in LS. So next step is I'm going to take these lines off, and that back there is the pump. So I'll unplug the pump and try to get this wiring harness that comes across flipped out of the way. Same thing over there, flip that out of the way. I'm going to try to leave the lines connected to the pump that come in. Looks like it's just one, and the return comes out that rail and goes back. But I'm going to try to leave that connected and lift that pump out and just set it off to the back there, and then get these lines out, and then I'll try to see if we can get this bolt out. And I don't know if this thing shimmies and moves. Maybe I can slide it this way a little bit and up, or this way and up. I'm trying to leave those rails in the heads. I don't want to mess with any of that stuff if I don't have to. So let's move on. We gotta, after we get these lines off and the pump out, these 3 come off from the timing cover, and then you have all these here that just lift that valley pan off. They're 13 millimeter. So let's get to it. All right, guys, just a quick little update here. Removed that fuel line there. That went around to that bolted piece there. Remove that fuel line there. As you see back there, the high pressure pump, 2 bolts. It's removed. That fuel line there that ran down to the high pressure pump, I removed that. All that stuff is here. This is the high pressure pump. Here's the fuel line. A little fuel in it. These are all the smaller lines that were going crisscross there. So next we're going to take out all the 13 millimeters down the sides, these 3 in the front, and we should be able to lift that up and off. Hopefully we can move around those fuel line bungs there. I don't know if we're going to be able to or not. We'll try. All right, guys, another update there. I ended up having to take the injectors out because the bungs hung out over that cover, and the cover needs to come straight up. So injectors are out, all lines, everything's all unplugged. But as you can see, it moves. It'll move around, but I can't pick it up and it won't come off. So I'm gonna go in and I go look at someone else's YouTube videos to see how that comes apart, because I don't want to pry and break something. I already pulled the cam sensor out because I thought maybe that was an issue, and that's a really weird one. That's I've never seen anything like that. It's gunky and shitty, that's for sure, but I don't know. We'll have to go check a video out and see how things are, how this comes off, because I'm unsure. All right, guys, quick update again. Looked on YouTube, figured out what we need to do. Apparently, this area here, there's an idler gear behind it for the timing chain, and that is bolted fast to the valley pan. So to get that valley pan, which on an LS was nice and simple, you unbolt the intake, undo that, it's right off. This, now, we need to take all this bullshit apart. Timing cover off. I pulled this bracket off and the alternator off already. Air conditioning is loose, but water pump's got to come off. The harmonic balancer, crank pulley, and all that shit has to come off. Timing cover has to come out, and then I can get to that. But what I'm afraid of is when I get to that, we are going to end up in a whole can of worms. Sorry about that, guys. I'm trying to close stuff up because it's starting to rain again. Alright, guys. That looks like hell. I'm all sweated up and... what's going on here? I don't know. Anyway, like I was saying, that you got to pull that timing cover off, all that stuff off the front of the motor to get that top valley pan off. And that's where my oil leak is. And I'm assuming that's why I got this truck in trade. It seemed to be too good to be true. Usually if it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. But I think I still did all right. I mean, it's a 2014 truck. That Avalanche, $3,500 in there. It's tough sell on the Avalanche. Nobody's going to buy that truck either with that oil leak the way it was. Nobody's going to give that guy $3,500 for that truck either way. So we'll deal with it and we'll get it done. But again, that's just a crappy design. You got to take that whole thing apart. And what I'm afraid of is to get in there and get that valley pan off. Judging by all the other stuff in that motor that I see, excuse me. Whew. Sorry about that. Judging by all the other stuff that's in that motor, this wasn't very well taken care of, and this thing leaked oil for a while, and the guy would just pour drain oil probably back in there because everything inside is caked. It's horrible looking. And I'm probably going to try running some seafoam through it. See if we can get, some longevity back into it, freshen it up a little bit, get some of that gunk burned out of there. Also, what I'm afraid of is I pull that cover off, and then I end up, timing chain's bad. That's common on these trucks. This one should only have about 60,000 miles on it. But then you work into, when the timing chain goes bad, it rubs on the oil pump, so now you turn into an oil pump deal. And then you got the variable valve timing fucking sitting in there. Excuse my language. I'm just kind of irritated with it. But you got the variable valve timing stuff there, and I really don't want to mess with any of that, but I guess I will have to. I'll show you guys that. But as for today, I think that's going to do it on that truck, because I got to do it out in my driveway that doesn't have the carport on it. And my other cars are underneath the carport. I'm not really moving stuff around, especially now since I've already started that truck. That means I'd have to push it. So it's out there. It's pouring right now. I'm in my shed now. So I think what I'm going to do is get to doing the Mac valves and stuff like that. Let me show you. I think this is what we'll work on assembling now. 2 Mac valves, dome pressure sensor, fittings, lines. We'll set this up and figure out a place where I want to mount it in the truck and run my lines and stuff. And I guess maybe we'll work on that for a bit. This afternoon I have some stuff going on, so I won't be able to be out here for too much longer. But I'll get working on this and show you the progress. Alright guys, quick little update. I know I was in working on the Mac valves and it quit raining. I went in for lunch. I got all nice and sunny back out here again. So we went back at it. Water pump is off. That's for the variable valve timing sensor. It's the oil pump pressure sensor thing. That's being a pain in the ass. Can't seem to get that off. I'm going to see if I can leave that connected and just lay the timing cover back. Harmonic balancer. That's a topic for discussion. This one actually came off really easy, simply because of this tool right here. I did many with just using regular gear pullers and struggled. I probably have done 20 cents with this puller. And yes, it says Chrysler, but then it also says puller also works on many GM engines. This was just from AutoZone, off of their rental tool thing. It was cheaper to get it there, unless you go to Amazon and get a real cheap one. This was like 60 bucks or something like that at Amazon or at AutoZone through their rental tool thing. Like, it was brand new, so I just kept it and paid for it. So there's the water pump, there's the harmonic balancer. This engine's weird. It has this other pulley and belt over here that's different. I don't understand why or what that is. I'll have to research what that exactly is. It don't make no sense to me. Because it looks like this thing has electric power steering. I'm not really seeing any kind of lines unless they're hidden behind where I can't see them. But anyway, let's get back at it and get this cover off. Just figure I'd show you guys that real quick. Well, and guys, this was just 10 minutes ago. I showed you that it was blue skies. And look at it now. Pouring down rain. You gotta love Florida weather. So we'll put that project back on hold and go back to the Mac valve. Alright guys, in between rain showers. It's rain, not rain, rain, not rain. Just got done raining, but I was able to come out, pop this off. Valley cover is off. Somebody's been in here before, because right there you see there's a big chunk of silicone. All those rubber are supposed to be that back there. I don't concentrate on my finger, but that right back there is supposed to, you see the outline, supposed to be an O-ring there. It's flat as can be. I can only imagine that it was leaking internally. This one right here, same thing. You can see a piece of silicone on that. And then initially where it really was blown out, right there. See where the gasket's kind of cleared away there? That's the pressure port for the oil pressure sensor. So it somehow was coming out around here and pushing down, and you can see kind of like the trail right there. How it would go down, puddle up, run in there, and then down around the side and drip down. So this is nasty. This is real nasty. That's the bolt with that little idler that was in the valley pan. This truck does have a light on for an oil pressure control valve, which is right there. That thing right there. And these come out here. A lot of them are fixed just because oil gets in the connection and ruins the connection, so it doesn't make a real good connection. This truck had great oil pressure. The sensors seem to all be working great. One thing I did find while taking all this stuff apart, let me zoom out. Why aren't I zooming out? Is those wires right there. That's an injector wire, and they're completely bare. They got to be touching and grounding out and creating a misfire or something. Non-firing situation. So these trucks generally are supposed to have a timing chain issue, so they say. All my guides look like they're all intact. Nothing looks broken in there. I'm going to research it a little more and see if that's something I want to venture into doing. That's the variable valve timing wheel. None of the timing kits come with that, so I'm assuming you reuse that because they generally don't go bad. But I don't have a lot of timing slap in there. They say if you do end up with a lot of timing slap, what ends up happening is it'll get, that guide will break, and then that chain will slap against the oil pump, and then it'll mess up that pressure switch. So I think this is where this project's going to be called for today, simply because I could clean my tools up. It's getting to be the afternoon. I got to clean up. Got some stuff to do this afternoon. Go out with some friends and stuff. Plus, I got to locate those 2 O-rings there because they didn't come with the kit that I bought. And now I see why it's so hard to get just that gasket for the valley pan, because you got to take all this off. So they sell everything as a complete kit. And the weird thing is that timing cover, I'm going to look to see if there's a separate gasket for it, but this one was 100% RTV'd in place. So, I'll let you guys know what I find. This jug I put all the change into, that was clear water, just with soap in it. Look at all that nastiness. All the change I picked out of the ground or off the underneath the carpet. Alright guys, back to working on the truck today. I'm waiting on parts to come in for the motor stuff. Needed different gaskets, had to order it. It's not gonna be here till the middle of the week. I had to get some stuff through Rock Auto. I'm changing the oil pump pressure solenoid, because it does have a check engine light for that, but it's a common failure of the wiring harness. So I'm going to get the wiring harness as well with that, but that's all coming, that's all ordered. But look how nasty this is. I cleaned the truck, scrubbed the dash, scrubbed the rubber mat down and everything, but I just couldn't get this funk out of it. It had a smell, and this guy, I know he was a smoker, a real bad smoker, because everything was all ashed up and everything. I took the center console apart, cleaned, soaked that in the sink, cleaned that all real good. But then, like, look at this water. It's all water, it's nasty. And dirt. This is all like sand and dirt, and found a ton of change, probably about 12 bucks in change. But over on the driver's side was the worst. That rubber or foam matting over there and right here is completely soaked. It was all puddling. The matting underneath that rubber mat took on a bunch of water, and I think that's because over on that door there, the guy must have locked his keys in many times, because that molding is all tore up over there from them getting in, breaking in, and probably using the antenna or something. So noticed that when I was just cleaning stuff, and I squished down on it, I heard it squishy. So pull the seats out, and this is where I'm at. We're going to shop vac this all out, all that little bit of water that's in there, and then come back in here with some Awesome and some Simple Green and stuff, and some other kind of disinfectants maybe, and try to get this all cleaned up and cleaned out. And I'm gonna let that mat dry out and see if I can shampoo the backside of it. If not, I might just peel it off and just put the rubber back down on here instead of using that interior mat. You tell this guy I was getting a lot of water for a while, because over on that passenger side, instead of pulling a drain plug, he decided to drill a hole in the floor, and he drilled a hole in the floor at a high point where there's no water going to get there. So we're going to get to cleaning this up. If y'all are wondering, the hive is still in, form. I guess they're making their last ditch effort at the end of the season here to get as much as they can, because it's the most amount of bees that I've ever seen on it. So, but right there's the truck. Right here's all my junk that I'm working on with this Silverado. And right there are our bee friends. Crazy. Alright guys, back on the truck a little bit today. We put in the new, the shiny piece right down there towards the bottom, and the oil pump. New oil pump control solenoid in there, new clip in there. I got a new wiring harness for it. New gasket, the rubber gasket, you kind of see the little sealant on the corner there. New gasket underneath the valley pan is in. High pressure fuel pump is back in. The fuel lines are in, fuel injectors are in. I'll show you guys that bank over there. The injector harness, this first injector was chewed up and it was rubbing wire to wire. So that had to be causing a misfire or something. It couldn't have been running very well at all. So it looks, you can see that red tape up job there. They previously, when they had his engine out before, had an issue with that. It's just the sheathing on the wire just crumbles off of it. It's just not very good. So we're fixing that. And we'll come inside here. We got the interior. It's all back together now. Okay. Well, not all back together. You got to put this all, the flip down here, but seats are all cleaned and put back in. The matting's all clean, dash is all cleaned up. I gotta get a steam cleaner or a shampoo or something to go up there on the, all around on the headliner and stuff. But I got rid of that stinky ass smell that was going on in here, and it's looking pretty good. Hopefully we get this finished up today. Here we have, we're working on this wiring harness that I was telling you guys about. One wire I've done already. I replaced it, soldered it all in. But this, how this wire is, that's how these two are twisted together and all taped up. So they were fraying and they were touching, so they had to have been grounding out and causing an issue with that injector firing. I didn't have a check engine light for that, but I can't see how it couldn't be doing it. But, while we're there, we'll fix it. They sell pigtails. You can buy the pigtail to go in it, but they only give you, about 6 inches of wire, which I guess really might have been all we needed. You can buy the whole new harness. I'm going to try to do what I'm doing here now. Snip it back here because this is all good sheathing to here. Solder the new wire in, and then this end has some good sheathing it right there. So I'll snip it somewhere right where my finger's at and solder both ends together, and then we put the heat shrink tubing over it and see if it gives us any problems. If it gives any problems, then I'll buy a new harness. It's like 60 bucks, I think, for this new harness, and we'll go ahead with that. Speaking of harnesses, this is the harness for that oil pressure control solenoid. I went to the dealer and bought a new one. It was like 17 bucks. The old one, or it's a common failure point, that sensor, and then the wires break off right here where my thumb is down there. So we bought a new one. It comes with a rubber O-ring. I just put a little bit of sealer around there to pop it in there with. Put a new seal in, timing cover. Got a new seal in that there, and we'll go back together with that there shortly. Also picked up new catalytic converter pipe because driver's side is missing that one. So we'll get that in too. Give you guys a quick look here. This is what we got soldered it together. So now I'll put some heat shrink tubing over that end, and then we'll go down and work on that end. Alright guys, there we have it. Both wires soldered. The bad stuff snipped out of it. Soldered together at both ends here, 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 and here. Heat shrink tubing over top of it. I think I might maybe tape these together a little bit. Keep them together, and we'll get this thing back together.